everyone, and welcome to this month's Tarot is Ridiculous book in review. And I am really looking forward to diving into this book because it's very different than some of the ones that we have looked at before. And I have the fabulous Elliot Adam here to talk about his incredible book, Tarot in Love. Hello, Elliot. Thank you for being here today.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for having me. I've been such an admirer of your work and your many writings. You are such a titan in the world of tarot. So I'm so excited to be here with you.
It's so funny when people say that. I'm like, no, I'm a little hermit who lives in a little cave. But let's talk about this book because I think relationship readings are probably some of the most popular readings in tarot. And I am surprised, to be perfectly honest, that there are hardly any books that deal with this topic until
Mhm,
this one. Is that why
mhm.
you wrote this one?
Absolutely. As you know, probably as a tarot reader, I know that you mostly write now, but when you did read for the public, a lot of times the first question that we're asked as readers is about relationships and love. And when I was younger and, I'm an up and coming tarot reader, that was often the subject I was most asked about. But it was from people who were really confused about what tarot could actually tell them about a relationship because a lot of people want guarantees. If you just met somebody and they're not calling you back and you're confused, you're wondering, why is this going on? I thought we had this connection. And it can feel really confusing. And so I wanted to give the reader a way of interpreting the cards that doesn't place you in a state of disempowerment about, when is this person coming back? What are they thinking of me? But instead, Tarot and Love really turns the view back on the reader to ask, why are you asking this question? Why do you want this person to come back? What is going on in you right now on a deeper level? And yes, the book will also answer what this person might be thinking of you and what the vibe of the relationship is. But I wanted to frame love readings in a way that was less disempowering because the way I grew up, it was often, framed in a way where people are just saying, get over them or get over this relationship or why are you even asking that question? And if you ever had your heart broke, you're looking for answers. You need a compassionate space to go to.
Absolutely. And I've always said that it takes a very certain type of person to do a lot of relationship readings. They're definitely not readings that I do. I don't
Mm.
particularly like doing them. So
Mhm.
I feel like one of the things that was great about reading this book, which by the way just feels like an absolute like the biggest guidebook on romance for tarot cards ever. Like it reads like a guidebook, and I love that. We're going to talk about the how you set this book out in a minute. But I do think that it does take a special type of reader to deal with relationship readings because they are very complex in the emotional layers that someone brings to that space with them.
Absolutely. As a reader, we're going to get asked about relationships. And some of us don't like to do relationship readings. In fact, I'll be honest, sometimes in the past, I've had difficulty with relationship readings because I'm dealing with this person with this very fixed expectation. And they have this whole layer of denial built around a relationship. And they want me to kind of get in on the conspiracy with them and nod my head and say how much this person actually loves them. And that feels
Mm.
icky. We don't want to be like led by our client to say, yeah, your dysfunctional relationship, it's really great. It's going to work out. So it's important to be honest when something isn't healthy. But it's also conversely true. And what I've noticed in social media or even before I wrote this book is that some tarot readers, they get a little sadistic about this subject. And they're like, oh, there's that person asking me about this cheating spouse again, and if they're going to come back. And I just am like, he's a loser. But that doesn't really help your client very much. It doesn't help them heal, doesn't help them look at themselves. It just makes you a bully who's just beating this poor person up who's in an emotional turmoil. And the thing is, that person with that vulnerability is bringing up something that all of us feel vulnerable about at one time in our life or another. And we want to really think about, how do I want to treat this person? Do I want to ridicule them and kick them when they're down? Or do I want to give them some tools to help them figure out why this is happening and what they can do to themselves to feel better and pick themselves up and find the way forward anyway?
Yes, and see, that is the type of compassion I am not entirely sure I could bring to a relationship reading.
Well, I'm a Libra, so
Healing.
I guess we just do that by nature, I suppose. We're all about partnerships, you know.
Healing, yes. If you're on a healing journey, I'm all for it. You want to go into grief, fine, I'm here for it. But the relationship stuff, not so much. And I guess that is my point, right? It does take a very specific type of reader to get into the weeds of some of this
Mm,
stuff with our querents. And for those of you who might just be on the start of your tarot reading journey, that's an important thing to understand. There's going to
yeah.
be types of readings that you may not feel comfortable holding space for, advocating for, and giving, guidance on. And so as you move through your journey, it's really important to start just being discerning and saying, oh, that's not somewhere that's like within my comfort zone. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Whereas other people are all for it, which is another reason why
Mhm.
I love this book so much, because even as I was going through it, I was like, oh, I've never thought about that for this card. Oh, that's a really
Mm,
interesting way to think about this particular this particular card. And so I want to get into now like how you've put this book together, specifically when it comes to the cards themselves, because you've got like all different types of way to read this card in a love reading. But I'm like, we could use this for other stuff too. So tell me about your
absolutely.
thinking about putting the content together here.
Well, thank you. Relationship readings, it's not just about love. I know the book's called Tarot in Love, but yeah, you could use this book to discern how a person might be feeling in a business partnership. But, going back to what you said originally, if you are uncomfortable with doing tarot readings about love or relationships, that is totally valid. And my best advice for a reader like that is just be honest about it. Just say, you know what, this isn't my jam. This isn't what I do. I'm not comfortable guiding you through this. Here's a therapist to talk to. Or, hey, talk to this person who does relationship readings. But I also wanted a resource out there for up and coming readers because you will absolutely get asked about relationships. I promise you, you're living in a
Oh yeah.
delusional world if you think you're never going to get a relationship question and you can just focus on the higher esoteric spiritual vibe of everything. People want to know about their relationships. And so the way I set the book up is that all relationships aren't the same and all relationship questions aren't the same. So each chapter is cut into these different categories for the type of relationship you're asking about or the type of relationship question you're asking about. So there is a section for if this is a new relationship. We all know if you just met somebody and you don't know them very well, that's a different vibe than if you've been with someone for 50 years. So we got new relationship as one section. Here's what the card would mean for a new relationship. And then we have a long-term partnership. Here's what that would mean. And then we have a section about intimacy, what that might be bringing up about intimacy in you or this other person. And then we have a section about desires. Even if we're not talking about another person, what do you desire? What do you want out of life? How do you want to connect to another person? And then there's also a seeking romance or what you might want to do for yourself to find the right relationship or what you might want to be working on yourself for the right mindset to attract that sort of relationship to you. Because I'm a firm believer that there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I'm a firm believer that when the relationship partner is ready, the right relationship appears. You attract it. When you're a vibrational match to the sort of person that you're drawing to you, you connect. And so I just wanted to, help people navigate through relationship questions, not in a one size fits all way, but knowing that it's a little more nuanced than that. There's different ways that we approach the cards when it comes to relationship questions.
I love the seeking romance section because to me, like, this could be relevant for other aspects of your life. Because I always believe that, like, if
Absolutely.
you're going to be throwing yourself into your health, you've got to be in love with your body. You've got to create a romance around well-being. If you want to get into healing, it's the same thing. If you want to travel, you've got to have a love, a passion, a desire. So I think that, like, as I was reading this, I was like, yeah, that some of these could actually fall into different categories, which I know is not what this book was about. But I was just like, these could really fall into other categories because love is a bit of a theme outside of relationships, just in general, when someone sits at
Mm,
our table, isn't it? Teaching them about how
absolutely.
to love themselves, how to love their life, how to love their body, how to create a romance for themselves so that life actually gets better and gets
Yeah.
them out of a cycle of suffering.
Well, as humans, we're geared toward relationships. We're a social species, and we do like to think we do it all by ourselves and we are completely autonomous and we don't need anybody's help, but we do. We all get to where we're going because we work with other people. And yeah, tarot and love
Mm,
can give you insight into other individuals and show you um, how to better navigate those relationships so that your best self is coming out and it's interacting with what's best in them. But also it gets rid of some of the fear or uncertainty you might be having about specifically relationships, about love, about attraction, about why am I not getting this call back, or what is this saying about me, or am I good enough? That's really at the core sometimes of our question.
Did you have any cards that were difficult to write in this book, like when you were putting the content together? Because I know when I sit down and I'm writing anything new about the cards, there'll be one or two that I'll just be like, oh, okay, so that
Oh
one
my
was
God,
for
yes.
me.
Yes. And that's why I love talking to a tarot author because you get it. Absolutely. There are sometimes cards you get where you're like, what in the hell does the Ace of Pentacles reversed have to do with love? You know what I mean? And so you do have to stop and think and absorb the card and really look at the symbols that are going on in there. But I think the Pentacles suit as a whole really was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning because I thought every guide I read was Pentacles are money. They're about career.
Mm,
And I'm like, yeah, we could just go, oh, well, your partner has a different attitude about money than you do. And yeah, that could absolutely be what comes up. But what I discovered and really sitting with those uncomfortable Pentacles cards is that what Pentacles really have to do with is our sense of worth, value, worthiness, and our values. And so I
mm,
really got into that kind of angle with it, and it opened up a whole new way of looking at that suit. And, it helped expand my own tarot practice because now I'm seeing pentacles in a more nuanced way than it's just money. As readers, we get our little guidebook, or we're taught through keywords, and we flip our card and we say, Ten of Pentacles, security, legacy, blah, blah, blah. Three of Pentacles, learning, refining a trade. Ace of Cups, it means love. And we don't let the symbols in, do we? We've kind of condensed these cards into a dismissive series of keywords, and we're not really
yeah.
moving anything in ourselves, and we're not moving the person we're reading either. Sometimes you have to stop the desire to just quickly dismissively say this is what it is and really sit with that symbol and really let it sink in below the shoulders and see, what does this feel like, what's this really talking about, and then it just opens up a whole new world.
Yeah. And I love that. And I always tell people, if you really want to get to know your cards a little more, create a deck, write a tarot book, because
Yeah,
because it's gonna
absolutely.
it's gonna
And there
push
are
you to
some
go
cards.
beyond,
Yeah, and
all
there
of
are
those
some
keywords.
cards. Sorry about that leg, my dear. I'm in England. I think you're in America right now, isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lag here. So sorry for that. I didn't mean to be rude.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think it's absolutely true. And there are certain cards that we have complicated relationships with that we're just like, oh, I just don't like that card. I don't care how this reader spins it. I just don't like that card. And even trying to think of a constructive way to apply it, it just bothers me. And that's just symbolism, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And it's so interesting you said that about the pentacles because I actually could see how pentacles would be so important to a relationship reading. But
Absolutely.
you know, it but you know, it does come down to like where you are, how you normally read, and picking up new material, creating new material for us readers too, and us tarot people really does shake up our habitual patterns when we come to the cards, and it makes us
Mm.
sit up and pay attention and be like, oh, yeah, thank you for teaching me once again that I will never, ever, ever know you.
Well, isn't that the lovely thing about going to a tarot conference or learning from another teacher or reading someone else's book or exploring a new way is it does expand. It may not be what you take away from it. It may not be what you apply to your own practice, but it does give you an awareness that there's other ways to look at things. And there is no tarot Moses coming down from the mountain saying, "Oh, this is what the Seven of Swords means, and everybody needs to get in line because it's the way the card is meant to be interpreted." We're a lot of us in the magical tarot world trying to get away from that kind of fixed
Yes.
viewpoint of the world. And so it is important to sometimes recognize, even if we've written a book, or I'm recognizing it all the time. It's humbling to learn from someone else and say, "Are you kidding me? You just mentioned these three cards in succession and they're all on a cliff and I never noticed that. Wow, you're brilliant." It's lovely to learn from other people.
That's that's me and the fool. I always tell people, "Why are you so happy to see that guy? He just wants you to jump off a cliff." Like he I mean, in real life, if you met someone who's like, dude, I really think you should jump off this cliff. You don't know what's going to happen, but I really think you should do it. You'd think he was mad. But in a tarot reading, you're
Absolutely.
like, this guy's great. I'm so happy to
Yes.
see the fool.
Yes. Well, it's true. Yeah. I mean, even some of the older interpretations of the Fool, they're a little bit more laden with danger and untouchableness and, oh, I got to steer clear from that, or he's not really thinking straight. So absolutely, you're correct. We've kind of, I won't say we've sanitized the Fool, but we like our positive Fool. We like how bright he looks, especially I think the Pamela Coleman Smith deck, the Rider Waite Smith, has a lot to do with that because he just looks so happy and free, and we all want to be that.
Well, if you were on LSD, you'd probably think there was something else at the bottom of that cliff too, right? Like clouds coming up to clouds coming up under your feet to waft you away like some beautiful dream. All right, so back to the book. Who would you recommend this book is for in particular, and how do you envision people using it, or do you not care how they use it?
Well, it's for people who are seeking answers about relationship readings for sure. So if you are trying to understand your own relationships, and as we kind of alluded to before, whether they're romantic or not, this card really does give you insight into people, how they think, how they might be thinking. But it's especially a good manual for up and coming tarot readers who want to read for the public and who need to learn how to talk about this stuff in a compassionate way without also feeding someone's denial or delusion or giving them a overly positive fantasy version of a really dysfunctional relationship if that's what the truth is. Because everybody who comes to you for a relationship reading is really asking about themselves. Relationships, they're just mirrors. It's just what someone else is reflecting back to us. And when we're so needy that we need the reflection coming from that other person to be the sole source of our power and value, something's off and we're setting ourselves up for failure. And so, what the book does is, yes, it gives you insight into those relationships, but it also puts the microscope back on you. And at every end of the chapter is one section, a paragraph that says, what might this card be trying to teach you about this moment you're in your life? And so it really is about, like, oh, why am I even asking this question about this person? Why do I need that person's validation? Maybe I'm not validating myself. Maybe I don't feel worthy enough. And then it's like, oh, I don't need to go through this way. Just because my parents learned relationships this way, or this is what I've seen around me, we can start to find our own path and be independent and be powerful and not be so needy anymore for someone else to give us our validation.
I love that. I'm going to also recommend this book to people who've been reading for a while. and to
Mm,
want to add another interesting layer to their readings, because I do think that you could take some of the seeking romance and the desire section out, and you could definitely apply them to just about any reading that you're doing, and it will give you another layer over the top. So I just feel like this is one of those books to just buy, have in your collection, and pull it out every so often to give you another way of looking at this, especially if your reading has to do with other people or you trying to connect with other people. It's going to be really,
mm.
really helpful.
Oh, well,
Elliot,
thank
thank you
you.
so much for being here today on our little blog over here on Substack. Um, and I have the show notes below. So, for those of you who want to read through the show notes and have a look there, I've also got a link to Elliot's site if you want to go and see more about him and learn more about him. Is there anything else we should know about where people can find you and what you're up to right now?
You bet. You can always go to my YouTube channel, Elliot Oracle, and that's my website too, elliotoracle.com. And if you're interested in tarot reading and you're not really into the relationship angle of things, but you want a broader resource, you can always check out my best-selling book, Fearless Tarot, which is also published by Llewellyn, and it takes a fearless, empowering approach to tarot. So we're not going to dread getting the Ten of Swords in our outcome and think that our life is over and nothing good will ever happen again. So you can check out Fearless Tarot as well.
I love that cut, Elliot. What are you trying to say?
I learned to
All
love it
right,
too.
everyone. That is it for this month. Next month, we have Miss Ethany up, and we're going to be talking about her book. Have a great rest of your April, and I will see you in late May. Bye for now.